say modern day SAO, but better.
Modern day. I mean, isn't SAO already modern day? If anything,
Modern
this is actually a modern, postmodern world.
Yeah, sure.
And isn't technically the digital circus in the past? And SAO is actually in the future,
Whoa.
but was made in the past about the future.
Listen, if
What?
you ever think we know what we're talking about here, this...
Just redo this clip.
Yeah.
And understand what kind of ride you're in for.
Yeah, that's how our brains work.
Let's talk about like an interesting part of it is like its quality for an indie studio. This is pretty impressive.
I feel like now the standard for indie studios is very high because we have things like Has Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss. They're from the same studio, but same idea, where it is very polished.
And you know what? It does make sense. It's not like early internet where you could kind of get away with a lot more. There is kind of a need for better quality because if you think about it, how much media there is out there and how much you can get it from everywhere, YouTube, Netflix, Peacock. The thing with this much success, there's always going to be this moment of this is lightning in a bottle. Even if you create a great work, it then becomes harder to eclipse the very potential that you create for yourself by being good in the first place.
That's true.
It's kind of funny. It's like you are both extremely rewarded for being popular, and at the same time, it's always going to be a
Honest, yep. I know you weren't keeping up with it, but like with Welcome Home, it became so popular, and it was almost like a Flappy Bird situation where the creators started to dislike what they were doing because the fan base that was coming around it was making his art into something that was very inappropriate. I mean, we all know.
I mean, to see
Rule 64.
That's funny because you can't really stop. I mean, you can't stop that.
Yeah. Oh no, Rule 34. I just called it Rule 64.
Yeah.
You didn't even correct me on that.
I thought it was like double, twins or something like that.
No, and so he took a break for a bit. The Amazing Digital Circus is like a weird trend that we've been seeing for a very long time. It's nothing new, where this obsession of being stuck in a simulation, like starting way back with The Matrix.
Yeah, I feel like that was kind of like such an original concept where when we didn't even have video and stuff, do we even exist? Is everything just a product of our mind? Like that happened when Plato he wasn't even writing, I guess. I was going to say putting stones to a tablet, but I don't think he even wrote. Yeah, he was just speaking.
He was just thinking thoughts.
Right? We were just thinking thoughts.
And it's just like with the invention of the internet and things such as VR, now we can put something to it other than just being like, what if we're just in our heads? It's like, oh, what if we're just in like an AI simulation?
It's basically the idea of not being able to trust your senses.
Yeah.
Because it's the only thing in the world that you can kind of truly trust. But then again, there are such thing as illusions.
Or hear certain things.
Yeah, exactly. Where that's a thing. And it's kind of like this aspect of if you cannot believe your own senses, exactly what is reality? Like the person next to you, are you even real? And speaking to like its humor, it's kind of like a return to form for like quirky humor.
Yeah.
Like it's making a little bit of a comeback.
I feel like it's refreshing. Not refreshing, but like I feel like it gives it in a healthy amount.
I don't love it.
Okay.
Because I mean, I never really truly liked quirky humor like that.
I feel like though that the humor is definitely not targeted at you. I feel like it's definitely the new age humor. Not new age, but like...
Nah, I don't even think it's new age, man. It's millennial humor.
I think it's coming back.
I do think it's coming back. It's like, you know what's old becomes new again?
Yeah.
I agree. I don't hate it. It can be just a touch overbearing.
Okay.
I don't like when I notice something is quirky. I like when something's quirky, but I don't notice it.
Yeah, but like with the way this show is like...
yeah, it's impossible.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think it's a style and it's just preference. It's a little too wacky with it sometimes for me, even though the premise is
but
so
I
wacky.
feel like it fits so well because it's like, it's supposed to be
It's
like,
a circus.
Yeah.
I mean, it's quite literally a circus.
So I feel like it fits.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying for me, personally.
That's fair.
I'm not saying for anybody.
You're wrong, it's fair.
It wasn't super off-putting. It was just a little noticeable, especially with Pomni. Like she has I both love it, but she has like a new facial expression like every single time.
Yeah, that's what people are saying is that like this show is just full of reaction gifs.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And which is, I think, a good thing, but it's just a touch distracting. The way I see it is reactions are most prominent when used sparingly. You know what I mean? Like less is more.
Yeah.
Because the more you use a reaction, the less weight it kind of has, even though it's kind of doing a really good job with it. I mean, some of the facial expressions, especially when like the theme song, everybody knows it.
Yeah, at the end.
Where it kind of just zooms in on her, like that, her face is crazy in that one. But she does it several times throughout the whole thing, which is understandable if you look at it from like a logical standpoint. Like, of course, she's transported in the world where
exactly.
Of course, she's gonna be super distraught.
I really love how they open with the theme song, and the theme song transitions really smoothly into the actual episode.
Yeah, I actually really like the theme song. It kind of, you know what it kind of reminded me for some reason?
What?
The Peacemaker.
Oh, where they're like
kinda,
dancing
going
around.
crazy.
Oh,
and then,
yeah, yeah,
And then
yeah.
the actual show is like, this is,
Yeah.
what the hell? I think that kind of has that kind of aspect to it.
Well, I mean, but that's what the whole show is about, is that we see this whole, like, there's a lot going on, very happy-go-lucky, like, scenery.
Yeah.
But it's actually really depressing.
It's just kind of fake. It's all fake.
Yeah.
It's all plastic. It's all a playhouse.
And so, like, even in the theme song, like, when we see Kaufman for the first time, they have that, like, he couldn't make it thing. Already from the jump, they're planting seeds.
You could watch this 2 or 3 times and find things.
That's probably why it has 61 million views.
Yeah, honestly, it's probably just like 3 guys.
Yeah.
And they're just like kind of moving on to what I feel like is the bread and butter of the series. And this is always going to be like, if a show is good to me, this is why it's good. It's characters. And I feel like it does a really good job with its characters, putting out just enough for me to be interested and not too much where I feel like I don't have the whole picture. I feel like, hey, hear me out. This is what the FNAF movie should be.
You think
I'm
so?
just saying. This
Ooh.
is where it's kind of like that nice, perfect blend of both. You see, you can do goofy and horror.
See?
Well, yeah, let's move back to what I was talking about, the characters and how important that is, because goddamn, they have some good characters, starting with Pomni. How do you feel about Pomni?
I love her already because she is clearly set up. Oh, should I trust these people? Should I put my, like, she's given these decisions multiple times where she has the exit door and when she's helping Ragatha, and she both times chooses herself over
I don't
want to
play with you anymore, drops Ragatha.
Yeah, for real. And so I love
Done
that.
dirty.
He doesn't-
Also, I don't know you.
So for
This
no,
is
for
me
real.
and mine.
No, for real though, because like in a show, obviously the characters should have this little bit of empathy for the other, but in reality, like, these are people she doesn't even know, and like honestly, she doesn't even know if they're actually humans or not. These are just things that they're telling her. She's supposed to take that at face value, that
Dude,
these are other humans.
I feel like when I saw that, I'm like, she's not gonna go through the exit. She's not. She's just not. She's gonna be like,
She didn't even hesitate.
She didn't. No, she did hesitate.
A little.
Well, she did hesitate. She was definitely like, she was like how most people would be in a real life horror scenario. Because if you think about it, a lot of the times, one of the things that really does plague horror is that these characters are so stupid that they kind of break you from reality. Where in this one, it feels like, I mean, she played by the book.
Yeah.
She tried to help because she didn't really know what she was getting into, but when she was like, chances are I'm gonna die if I help you, like, I gotta go, bro. And it is what it is. So I really respect that from her, and just kind of her own dissociation from reality that she's having. One of the things that's really interesting is the fact that she and everybody else doesn't have a memory.
Yeah.
She doesn't have her memory. She doesn't know what's happening before. And that's going to be an insanely important aspect to the story, because I've seen these story beats before, so I do kind of have like some suspicions on exactly how they go, especially when you're put into a new world without being able to remember it. Usually it means the world that you did have was something
Worse.
yeah, maybe even worse, like the devil you know is better than the devil you don't.
Yeah.
Except this way it's also the opposite. Funny enough, it's like,
Well,
I
it's the
know
idea
it
of the
is.
Matrix.
Yeah, that's true. It's like this paradise, there is no such thing. Running away from reality tends to make it worse, no matter which reality you are in. So one of her big thematics, or not even just the characters, the show in general, is escaping reality, and what does that mean to your character. And in this case, you could see her easily run from reality, at least in this, like, she doesn't want to believe. She immediately denial. She runs to the door. She takes any exit. So what does that say about her in the real world? Maybe she was also running away from something and decides to go into a VR. She just doesn't understand that she did, you know?
Yeah, I 100% agree with everything that you're saying right now.
There is no escape from the world you put yourself into.
I feel like, because the only other way is that other option I can see is that maybe she was like part of an experiment or something.
Yeah.
And that,
Well,
No,
that's
no.
also...
yeah.
I mean, not running away from reality.
You can
Well,
go.
I mean, we don't know if she was put here willingly.
Willingly, that's true.
It could be a white bear situation where she was like a criminal. The one thing I wanted to touch upon for like lore wise is that there's obviously some religious tones in this, because we had the CNA, which Cain and Abel, that's what a lot of people are theorizing about.
I don't know nothing about Cain and Abel.
They're a well-known story within the Bible. I think Cain kills Abel or something like that.
Oh, because of jealousy, because he wanted his sister or something, like cousin, right? Is that the one?
Something like that.
It's like Adam and Eve's son.
Yeah, Cain and Abel is Adam and Eve's son. Yeah, so you're pretty much right. It's a story of jealousy. you know, because there's no other like scene name that we really know of that's, you know, front and center. Although we were confirmed that Kane is an NPC, so you know maybe Kane was named after somebody in real life. That's what's theorizing on the internet. The thing I wanted to talk about in terms of religious context in this episode was the final shot where it is so set up to be the Last Supper. You know that painting of the Last Supper.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't really understand what.
So the whole thing about the Last Supper is that someone at that table is going to betray Jesus.
Oh,
Judas,
my man. Judas.
So that leads me to think.
Jack.
Or maybe Jack. Somebody
at
the table is gonna betray her.
That makes so much sense, and I don't think it's gonna be Jax.
You don't think so? I think it might be I think it's either Jax or Ragatha.
It's too on the nose,
right?
For it to be Jax.
If it makes sense for it not to be Jax, because then we can have the storyline of him like gaining sympathy for other characters. That's his character development.
I don't even think it's him gaining sympathy. It's us seeing him in a different perspective.
Okay.
Because I think he does care for people. Well, maybe. In his own way. He's just, again, like everyone else, running away from reality by taking as much power as he can. It's like a bid for control in a world where he lost it all.
Yeah, I just wanted to plant that seed in your mind because, I mean, I'm still not sure who I think or if there even is going to be a betrayal, but it's just odd to have that scene of the Final Supper and, like,
the Last
Supper. My bad. Of the Last Supper, and like she's so clearly Jesus in that scene. You know what I mean? And even if you like look at the picture, like she's wearing red and blue, and Jesus wears red and blue, and like so she's like the center, right? And everyone's having the conversations around her. And the thing is also like with the Last Supper, everyone's eating on one side of the table. There's no one on the other side, and there was nobody on the other side.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I didn't even think about the fact that it had allusions to the Last Supper.
But I feel like we're definitely gonna get a betrayal of some sorts.
It could be Ragatha. That's an interesting choice.
Or Kinger. He's been here the longest.
Nah, not Kinger, bro.
You don't think so?
Don't do that to Kinger.
He's been here the longest.
Yeah, that's my favorite character. Don't even.
Yeah, but then we also had the thing with Queenie because we didn't even mention the doors in the hallway. There's something going on with Kinger though.
Of course, he's a very important character. Man has not told the lie yet.
And I think also this bit with like the insects thing is gonna come back.
We're in a video game. We're in an old video game. What is insects in a video game?
Bugs. Okay, actually, this is a theory that I saw floating around.
Really?
That him and Queenie were like the first people. So they call her Queenie. I don't know if she actually has a name, but they call, you know who I'm talking about, the one we see on the door?
Yeah.
The other chess piece?
Yeah, the brown chess piece.
Yes, she is a queen chess piece. So they say that like, you know, it was him and Queenie, and she went insane first because she was looking for the bugs in the game. And so now he talks about insect collections because she went insane looking for the bugs.
That makes a lot of sense. We didn't even really talk about breaking down.
No, we didn't. Abstractions?
Thing is such an interesting aspect of the show.
Then you got to think like, are they dying in real life?
How are they? Yeah, exactly.
Is this them escaping?
No, probably not them escaping. It's them being kind of eaten by the world.
Yeah, but then what does that mean? Being eaten by the world? Are they dying or like are they being lost to the data?
Yeah, it's kind of like and
then they're actually
I feel
trapped
like
there forever.
I don't know if it's them in a VR headset or them being projected into like a world. Physical brain becoming digital data and becoming corrupted once you lose your sense of self.
Is there still a version of them walking around in like the real world?
But someone has to be taking care of them because how are they living up to this point?
Well, that's where CNA comes in.
Speaking on like the breakdowns, like not a major character, but one of the characters,
Kaufmo,
just by stepping foot in his
just for like the couple
world.
of frames that we see of his room.
Yeah, where you can see like once something consumes you, that's it. You become what you feared most, the data itself. Which kind of goes back to Kane, which is first of all, his design is great. I love his design.
Oh my goodness, it's both creepy and fun. And
kind of cool.
time.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. He's an interesting character. I don't know if he is evil or not.
I don't think so. I think he's just going through the motions of what he was programmed to do.
He's like confused. Like he was created to be fun.
Yeah.
And what do you do when no one is having fun? And how he kind of goes along with escapes and stuff like that is that he, one, being a controller of reality, being able to change everything at your own will, except for the very thing that you want is the people around you, him be unable to make people happy.
Able.
So true. And also the fact that he is creating distraction. That's his main purpose, is him kind of creating these events, making these games just for the sake of,
so they don't go insane.
Yeah, so they don't go insane, so they don't want to leave. It doesn't feel like he's really doing it out of malice. He kind of almost reminds me of Monica from
Doki Doki.
Yeah. Even though she was, you know,
She was doing it out of malice.
I mean, she was doing it out of malice, but Team Monica all the way. And I do want to talk about Jax.
Maybe this is me just spitballing here. He was like a person that was part of the company or something, and then was thrown in. Obviously, he still has amnesia, but like, so this was his punishment. So that's why he's kind of like indifferent about it all.
So moving on to Ragatha.
She's definitely a piece that helps develop Pomni's character.
It's like one of the only characters that kind of treats
Feel like
Pomni right.
I feel like she's also the most accepting of the situation that they're in.
I don't think so, actually.
I think she's trying to make the best of the situation.
I think it's more like she is not facing reality, so therefore she's not accepting how harsh it actually is. When she goes up to the abstraction and says, hey, maybe there's a chance we can save him, when in reality there was no way and she was just gonna get hurt and everybody else hurt. That was kind of like an example of her not being able to accept that loss happens. Not everything broken can be fixed. And so she's trying to make the best out of bad situation, yes, but there's also kind of this disillusionment to it. Sometimes you have to accept that it's bad to be able to get better. That when she does go through the exit room, we go in, we see the computer.
Yeah.
And how present that is, and how that kind of...
Also that the headset is off, too. It's not on anything.
What do you mean? Oh, the headset that's connected to the computer?
The VR set.
Because you could see her kind of like fade away, sort of like looking into it, and it's kind of seeing into the void. And Kane says this interesting thing about spoilers.
Yeah.
This is a game that they're playing. So I wonder if there's something down the line.
Is there an end? Like, can you win the game?
But yeah, the computer is so interesting.
Not only is it an old computer, but we see all the other computers in the office. But this one is actually like old looking. Like it looks like it's been there for a while.
But one of the things I really did see in that scene specifically, her going through the exits and that computer, man, it was really giving me Stanley Parable.
I agree. I 100% agree.
And kind of what the Stanley Parable represents versus Digital Circus, and how they're kind of similar in a lot of ways. They both have irreverent humor, they're whimsical, and they're introspective in nature. And there's kind of also this disillusionment with reality. Even one of the endings can be you escaping reality using this device that can create a fake reality for you rather than freeing yourself. So the whole game is about having quote unquote choice. And the truth of the matter is that you actually don't have any in the game itself. And also one of the endings is, I think it's when he's supposed to be confronting his boss, but rather he goes downstairs and then he ends up going into like a circle. And then it turns out that he was actually someone who was manic on the street, kind of again simulating the fact that life could be a simulation and that there's no such thing as reality, or that there is such thing as reality. And then what are
Everything's
you
up in the
escaping?
air.
Like you don't know exactly what you're escaping, because what does it mean to escape something you do not know?